The woman turned on the baby monitor she'd just bought from a thrift store. She didn't have a baby. She didn't even have children. She'd bought it to monitor her elderly mother who lived in the attached apartment. Smart idea, right? She set up the receiver in her bedroom and the camera in her mother's room. That first night, at 2:47 a.m., voices woke her up. Coming from the monitor. Clear voices. A man and a woman talking. She grabbed the receiver and listened. The man said, "She's awake now. She heard us." The woman laughed. "Good. Let her listen." Then silence. The woman ran to her mother's room. Her mother was asleep. Alone. The camera showed an empty room. But those voices had been crystal clear. And they'd known she was listening. Before I tell you what happened next and reveal cases that will make you never trust a baby monitor again, make sure you subscribe and hit that like button, because what you're about to hear will make you question every electronic device in your home. Baby monitors are supposed to provide peace of mind. Parents can hear if their child needs them. Simple technology. A transmitter and a receiver. What could go wrong? But people across the country have reported the same disturbing phenomenon, hearing voices, conversations, even commands coming through baby monitors when there's no baby. Sometimes there's no child in the house at all. And what they hear is so specific, so targeted, so impossible to explain that it's changed how they see the technology in their homes. These are those stories. These are the people who heard voices that shouldn't exist. And once you hear what they experienced, you'll understand why some of them got rid of every wireless device they owned. Let's start with what happened to the woman from the opening. Her name is Margaret, and after that first night of voices, she thought maybe she'd picked up a neighbor's monitor. Frequency interference. Happens all the time, right? She changed the channel on her monitor. The voices came back. Different channel, same voices. The man and woman who seemed to know she was listening. Night after night, they'd talk. About her. About her house. About her routine. They described what she'd done that day with impossible accuracy. What she'd eaten for dinner. What show she'd watched. What time she'd gone to bed. Margaret called the police. They checked for intruders. No one. They checked the monitor. Working normally. They suggested she was picking up someone's phone conversation or radio transmission. But the voices were too specific. Too focused on her. Then one night, the voices said something that made Margaret's blood run cold. The woman said, "We can see her mother too. In the other room. Should we wake her up?" Margaret ran to her mother's room. Her mother was asleep. But on the baby monitor screen, for just a second, Margaret saw something. A shadow. Moving across the camera's view. When she got to the room, nothing was there. Margaret disconnected the monitor that night. Threw it away. But here's what still haunts her, she never told anyone which room was her mother's. Never mentioned her living situation in her house. The voices knew things they couldn't have known from simple frequency interference. They knew the layout of her home. They knew her life. And she has no explanation for how. Now let me tell you about James and Patricia, a couple in their 60s who bought a baby monitor to keep an ear on their dog after surgery. The dog needed monitoring through the night. They set up the camera in the living room where the dog's bed was and kept the receiver in their bedroom. The first few nights were fine. They'd hear the dog moving around, drinking water, normal sounds. Then on the fourth night, they heard a child crying. Not their dog. A child. Crying desperately, calling for mommy. James checked the living room. Just the dog, sleeping peacefully. But the crying continued on the monitor. Patricia was so disturbed she wanted to shut it off. James convinced her it was interference from a neighbor. But here's where it gets worse, they lived on a 5-acre property. The nearest neighbor was a quarter-mile away. Too far for interference. The crying came back every night. Same time. 3:15 a.m. A child crying for exactly 7 minutes, then silence. They tried changing channels. Different outlets. Different rooms. The crying followed the monitor. James finally called the company that manufactured the monitor. The tech support person said it was impossible for audio to persist across different channels and locations unless it was being deliberately broadcast to that specific device. But who would do that? And why? James and Patricia used the monitor for 1 more week. Then the crying changed. Instead of calling for mommy, the child's voice said, "Help me. I'm in the basement." James and Patricia don't have a basement. But the specificity of it, the desperation in that child's voice, it was too much. They got rid of the monitor. Never monitored their dog again. And they still wonder, was it some kind of prank? A hacker? Or something else? Because that child's voice sounded so real. So genuinely terrified. If it was fake, if someone was broadcasting it, why? What did they gain from making an elderly couple hear a crying child in the middle of the night? Let's talk about what happened to Sarah, a single woman who lived alone and bought a baby monitor to watch her apartment while she was at work. She'd had a break-in 6 months earlier and wanted security without paying for an expensive system. She set up the camera to view her living room and checked it periodically from work using the monitor. For 2 weeks, everything was fine. Then one day, she checked the monitor and saw movement. Someone was in her apartment. She could see them on the screen, walking through her living room. She called 911 immediately, left work, met police at her apartment. They searched thoroughly. No one was there. No signs of forced entry. Nothing disturbed. The police left. Sarah checked the recording on the monitor. The figure was there, clear as day. Walking through her living room. She showed the recording to her landlord. He went pale. He said, "That's the previous tenant. That's what she looked like. The woman who'd lived there before had died in the apartment. Natural causes, heart attack, nothing suspicious." But the landlord recognized her from the recording. Sarah played it off like maybe it was a glitch, some old recording somehow stored in the device. But she knew that didn't make sense. It was a new monitor. Never used. And the figure on the screen was walking through Sarah's furniture, Sarah's belongings, like it was seeing a different apartment. Sarah moved out 2 months later. Couldn't shake the feeling that she was sharing the space with something. And the landlord never mentioned the previous tenant to new renters after that. Sarah wonders how many people have lived there since. If they've seen anything. If they've heard anything on their devices. She never reported what she saw beyond showing the landlord. What would she report? That a baby monitor showed her a ghost. Now here's a case that got law enforcement involved. A couple named David and Lisa had actual children. 2 young kids. They had a standard baby monitor in their daughter's room. One night, they heard a man's voice come through the monitor, singing a lullaby in their daughter's room. David ran upstairs, burst into the room. No one there. Daughter sleeping peacefully. He checked the window. Locked. Closet. Empty. He came back downstairs confused. The singing started again on the monitor. This time, the man's voice said their daughter's name. Said, "Emma, wake up. Come here." David called the police. They came, searched the house, checked for intruders. Nothing. They suggested the monitor had been hacked. It was an internet-connected monitor with a camera and microphone. Police tech specialists examined it and confirmed someone had accessed the device remotely. They were streaming the video, had access to the audio, and could broadcast through the speaker. But here's what's terrifying, the person knew their daughter's name. How? David and Lisa hadn't used the name around the monitor. Hadn't programmed it in. The hacker had learned their daughter's name by listening over time. Learning their routine. Learning their family. The police never found who did it. The IP address was routed through international servers, impossible to trace. David and Lisa got rid of all smart devices in their house. Went back to old-fashioned parenting, checking on their kids in person. But the psychological damage was done. Someone had been watching their daughter sleep. Listening to their private family moments. For weeks or maybe months. And they'd never known until that person decided to reveal themselves by singing a lullaby and calling their daughter by name. The invasion of privacy, the targeting of a child, it's the stuff of nightmares. And it's completely legal to sell these devices with minimal security. Let me tell you about Tom, who had the most unsettling experience of all. Tom was a bachelor, no kids, but he found a baby monitor at a garage sale. It was old, analog, the kind that just transmits audio on a frequency. He thought it might be useful for his workshop, keeping an ear on tools running while he went inside. He set it up. And that first night, just testing it, he heard something that made him freeze. A conversation. 2 people talking. About a murder. They were discussing how to dispose of a body. Tom thought it was a joke. Someone playing a prank. Then he heard an address. A specific location. A description of the victim. Tom called the police. He felt ridiculous, but what if it was real? Police investigated the address. Found nothing suspicious. They told Tom he'd probably picked up interference from someone watching a crime show. But Tom knew what he'd heard. The level of detail. The cold, calculating way they discussed it. It didn't sound like TV. It sounded like planning. 2 weeks later, a body was found in the area. The case made local news. Tom saw the report and his blood ran cold. The victim matched the description he'd heard on the monitor. The location was close to what they'd discussed. Tom called the police again, told them about the monitor conversation. They took a statement but were skeptical. How could a baby monitor pick up a murder plot? Tom gave them the monitor. They examined it but said there was no way to prove what he'd heard or trace where the signal came from. The murder remained unsolved. And Tom is left wondering, did he actually hear killers planning a murder? Or was it a coincidence? The rational explanation is that he heard something, remembered it vaguely, and then applied it to a crime that happened later. But Tom insists the details matched too perfectly. He believes he picked up a conversation that shouldn't have been possible to intercept. And he wonders if the killers ever knew their planning session was overheard. If they knew someone was listening and just didn't care. Here's what's disturbing about all these cases: the technology itself is vulnerable. Baby monitors, especially older analog ones, broadcast on common frequencies. Anyone with a receiver can potentially pick them up. That means parents using monitors might be broadcasting their children to anyone within range. Hackers have demonstrated how easy it is to access internet-connected monitors. Some have even created websites showing live feeds from unsecured baby monitors around the world. Parents think they're protecting their children, but they're actually making them more visible, more accessible, more vulnerable. And the people picking up these signals aren't always malicious. Sometimes they're accidental eavesdroppers who hear things they can't explain. Like Margaret hearing voices that knew too much. Like James and Patricia hearing a child crying when no children lived nearby. Like Sarah seeing a figure that might have been a previous tenant. These aren't necessarily hackers or criminals. They might be picking up something else. Something that uses the same frequencies. Something that exists in a way we don't fully understand. Let me tell you about one more case, because this one offers a potential explanation that's somehow more disturbing than ghosts or hackers. A woman named Rachel bought a baby monitor for her infant son. Standard device, nothing unusual. She started hearing voices late at night. Conversations. Sometimes arguments. She assumed it was picking up neighbors. But then she heard her own voice. Coming through the monitor. Having a conversation she'd had that morning. With her husband. In their kitchen. Nowhere near the monitor. The monitor was somehow playing back conversations from hours earlier. She tested it. Had a conversation in the basement, far from the monitor. That night, the conversation played through the monitor. Rachel called an electrical engineer friend who examined the device. He found something strange. The monitor was somehow recording and storing audio, then playing it back at random times. It wasn't designed to do that. It shouldn't have been capable of it. But some glitch, some malfunction, had turned it into a device that captured conversations from throughout the house and replayed them at night. The engineer couldn't explain how. The device didn't have enough memory for storage. Didn't have the capability to record from that distance. But it was happening. Rachel destroyed the monitor. But here's the disturbing implication: if her monitor was malfunctioning in this way, how many others are? How many baby monitors are recording and broadcasting conversations their owners don't know about? How many people are hearing voices through monitors because the devices themselves have become something more than they were designed to be? So here we are. You've heard about the people who heard voices when they shouldn't have. Margaret, who heard voices that knew her life. James and Patricia, who heard a child crying for help. Sarah, who saw a dead woman on her monitor. David and Lisa, whose daughter was targeted by a hacker. Tom, who might have heard murder being planned. And Rachel, whose monitor played back her own conversations. These stories prove that baby monitors are more than simple devices. They're windows. Sometimes into other homes. Sometimes into other frequencies. Sometimes into things we don't understand. And the disturbing truth is that we filled our homes with these devices without really understanding them. We trust them because they're convenient. Because they make us feel safe. But they're creating vulnerabilities we never had before. They're broadcasting our private lives. They're giving access to people who shouldn't have it. And sometimes, they're picking up things that shouldn't be possible. The people who experience these events will tell you they're more careful now. They read reviews. They research security. Some have given up wireless devices entirely. They've learned that convenience comes with a price. That the devices designed to protect us can be turned against us. Or can pick up things that make us question reality itself. Whether it's hackers, interference, malfunctions, or something else entirely, the result is the same: people hearing voices that shouldn't exist. People seeing things on screens that can't be explained. People realizing their homes are less private than they ever imagined. So tonight, if you have a baby monitor in your home, listen carefully. Is that sound really your child? Is that voice really your partner? Or is it something else? Someone else? Something that found its way into your home through a device you never questioned. Because these stories prove that sometimes the voices on baby monitors aren't coming from the room you're monitoring. They're coming from somewhere else. Somewhere you can't see. Somewhere that maybe you shouldn't be able to hear from at all. And once you start hearing them, once you realize your monitor is picking up more than it should, you can never unhear it. You can never go back to that innocent belief that the device is just doing what it's supposed to do. You'll always wonder, what else is it hearing? What else is it showing? And who else is listening? Sleep well. If you can. And maybe check your baby monitor. Just to be sure.